HBO's Game of Thrones is one of the most unpredictable and complicated series out there. As a result, its fans are partial to an outlandish theory or two, from the idea that the whole show is a global warming metaphor to an even weirder thought that Varys could be a mermaid. With the show drawing to its highly anticipated climax fairly soon, we thought we'd give you a rundown of some of the best fan theories for how it will eventually end. But beware, for the night is dark and full of spoilers. This is 10 Game of Thrones theories that will blow your mind. Number 10. The Faceless Men Theory. Some Game of Thrones theories you'd love to see come true, and others you really wouldn't. One theory that falls into the please God no category is one surrounding popular fan favourite Arya Stark. Namely, it's the Arya is dead theory. This theory states that in the Season 6 Episode 8 showdown of Jaqen's Prodigies, it was actually the Waif, not Arya, who emerged victorious. Think about it, you don't specifically see the Waif die, which has been Game of Thrones code for that character's not really dead in the past. The odds were definitely against the younger Stark girl in that fight. She had been stabbed multiple times in the stomach and had never bested the Waif before. Then there was Jaqen's reaction. Why would he give that creepy little smile unless he knew there was something else going on? So secretly wearing Arya's face, the Waif is now travelling up north. Who knows what her endgame is, but I'm gonna guess it's not good news for the Starks. King Robert and the Lannisters considered using Faceless Men assassins to kill Daenerys way back when, meaning it's not out of the question that the Waif could be working for them now, hired to kill Cersei's enemies in the north. Number 9. Samwell is the narrator. This theory is one that's been gaining a lot of popularity online lately. It's even been discussed by John Bradley, the actor who plays the character in question. The idea is that the entirety of the show is based on a chronicle of events written by everyone's favourite maester in training, Samwell Tarly. Season 7 sees Sam in his nerdy element at the Citadel, surrounded by books and studying under Professor Slughorn, Archmaester Ebrose. Ebrose is writing a history titled The Chronicles of the Wars Following the Death of King Robert I. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's basically just a fancy way of saying the plot of Game of Thrones. Sam comments on the title, saying that he would have gone for something a bit more poetic. What could he be thinking? A Song of Ice and Fire, perhaps? Fans of this theory have predicted that the final scene of the fantasy medieval will be Sam closing the big book of the series. Whilst this prediction doesn't really tell us anything about who will end up on the Iron Throne, it would mean that at least Sam survives to the end. Number 8. Who is Azor Ahai? This theory surrounds a prophecy that a legendary leader who once saved the world from darkness, Azor Ahai, will be born again. They'll be born amid smoke and salt, and shall draw light from the fire a burning sword Lightbringer. Fairly obviously, the two most popular candidates for the role are Jon and Daenerys, largely because of Jon's kick-ass swordsmanship and Daenerys being born at the height of a storm. There are 1001 blogs explaining why either of these two could be Azor, so instead, we're going to focus on another candidate who'd be a lot more of a curveball, the Hound. This theory comes from two defining moments in Sandor Clegane's life. The fire that burned him as a child, aka smoke, and the Battle of Blackwater that almost killed him, aka salt. Plus, it'd be a hell of a plot twist to see the Hound, who's normally thwarted by his fear of fire, saving the day with a flaming sword. You can't say that wouldn't be an amazing ending. Number 7. The Mad Queen. We all know about Mad King Aerys Targaryen, but could we be about to see the Mad Queen? For a while there, it was thought that Daenerys was going to fill that role, what with her being the Mad King's daughter and her literally burning her enemies with dragonfire. But now, there's a new Queen Psycho bidding for the title, Cersei. The Lannister matriarch has blown up large parts of King's Landing and executed one of the most sadistic deaths of the whole series, which for Game of Thrones is really saying something. If we assume this theory is right and Cersei is the Mad Queen, what does this mean for the end of Thrones? Well, the Mad King got killed by the Kingslayer, so for symmetry's sake, could the same fate await the Mad Queen? The idea that Jaime kills Cersei is one that's been knocking around for a while. It's based on the prediction of Maggie the Frog who, in the books, told the young queen that she'll be killed by the Valonqar, which translates as little brother. This could refer to Tyrion, seeing as the dislike between he and Cersei is far from secret, or, plot twist, Jaime. Number 6. The Walkers Cross the Wall. The 200-metre tall wall that stretches along the northern border of the Seven Kingdoms was allegedly constructed about 8,000 years before the events of Thrones. The Children of the Forest added an enchantment to prevent the White Walkers crossing it. But could everyone's favourite plot device have already broken that spell, basically dooming all of Westeros? Yes, of course, we're talking about Brandon Stark. In Season 6, Episode 5, when Bran was doing a spot of unsupervised three-eyed ravening, he was touched and marked by the Night's King. This mark allowed the White Walkers to break through the children's magical defences and attack them, Bran and co., leading to the heartbreaking Hold the Door scene. Now that Bran's back in Winterfell, does this mean he's just gifted the Walkers free pass over the wall? This leads into another, more dire end of Thrones theory. The White Walkers win, and everyone else dies. Valar Morghulis after all. There are hundreds of thousands of White Walkers, and they're super hard to destroy. With George R.R. Martin's previous notoriety for killing off fan favourites, it wouldn't be totally unfitting for him to just kill off all of the remaining living characters. Number 5. Bran the Builder. While we're on the topic of Bran, there are a lot of theories floating around about the role he has to play in shaping the entire plot of the show. Even before he started walking away, little Bran was the first domino to set key events in motion. If he hadn't spied on the Lannister twincest, Jaime wouldn't have pushed him out of the tower, and a lot of what happened in Season 1 might not have done. But now we know he has his eye-rolling, animal-controlling, timey-wimey superpower. That makes the potential for Bran's influence even greater. It's been confirmed that Bran can not only witness, but can influence moments in the past, hence the whole Hodor thing. This has led to the circulation of the Bran the Builder theory. Bran the Builder, who our Bran is named after, was the one who built Winterfell and the Wall in the first place. The idea is that modern-day Bran, having seen the devastation that the Walkers will bring, travels back in time to become his namesake, building the wall to defend against the future undead army. Not only this, but some speculate that Bran was the voice in the Mad King's ear that turned him insane. There would be less purpose behind this though, unless it was another accidental Hodor situation. Number 4. The Walkers are the good guys. It'd be an absolutely huge plot twist if it turned out that we should have been rooting for the Walkers all along, but that's one theory that's actually getting quite a lot of momentum online. A bit like the story of Noah's Ark in the Bible, the idea here is that mankind has become corrupt and evil, and the Walkers are intended to cleanse the nation. In order to justify this, the show has spent over 6 years showing most of its characters scheming, lying, murdering, raping, and just generally being dicks. Another take on this "the Walkers are good" theory is that it was actually them who built the wall in the first place. Think about it. The wall was allegedly built as part of the original Azor Ahai's battle to drive the Walkers away. But are we really to believe that it was built quick enough to halt a devastating advancing army? Even with the children's magic, surely such a feat would have taken hundreds of years. So this leads some to believe that the Walkers were in on it the whole time, and had reached an agreement in order to end the war for the Dawn. Now mankind has turned into such murderous animals, the Walkers have decided it's time for that agreement to be broken. Number 3. Three-headed dragon. This theory is one of the most popular Game of Thrones theories out there, and it stems from a prophecy given to Daenerys in the books. The dragon has 3 heads. This has been understood pretty much universally to mean that 3 dragon riders are required in order to win the Great War. Seeing as Daenerys has 3 dragons, it's pretty much a given that she'll be one of those riders. The question now is who will be joining her. Ever since the infamous R+L=J theory was confirmed in Season 6, the probability that the second dragon rider will be Jon Snow has grown. But Jon might not be the only character with a secret Targaryen heritage, as a strong candidate for the third rider is none other than Tyrion Lannister. Some fans speculate that Mad King Aerys had an affair with Tywin Lannister's wife Joanna, and Tyrion was the result of this affair. They point to Tywin's disdain towards Tyrion as further evidence towards this. Oh, and the fact that Tywin said, "You're no son of mine" with his dying breath. Maybe that was more literal than it first appeared. Number 2. The Grayscale Walker theory. You can't deny there's something connecting Grayscale and the White Walkers. Let's start with some pretty basic links. They certainly have similar aesthetics, and they're both pretty much zombies unable to feel. Then there's the fact that those infected with Grayscale, aka the Stone Men, are sent to live in the ruins of the Valyrian Peninsula, the very home of Valyrian steel, one of the few known substances that can kill a walker. Now, what this means isn't super obvious, but in Game of Thrones, accidental coincidences are a rarity. Dragonglass, another way to kill the dead, has also been hinted as a possible cure for Grayscale. And thanks to one of the grossest scenes in Thrones history, we know that the condition can be cured even in its advanced stages. With similar traits and weaknesses, is it possible that Grayscale is just another manifestation of the magic behind the Walkers? Could the Stone Men just be Walkers created from the living rather than the dead? After all, we don't know where the infection came from in the first place, only that it passes through physical contact. So maybe the Night King's dead army isn't the only zombie horde that should be worrying the people of Westeros. He might also be able to control the Stone Men. Number 1. Jon and the Night King. A badass warrior based in the north who once died and has since been reanimated. Am I talking about Jon Snow, the Night King, or both? Well, according to this theory, the grand finale will see the former become the latter. When discussing the eventual conclusion of his story, George R.R. Martin described the finale as bittersweet. This implies that the good guys do ultimately triumph, but at a cost. This revelation, of course, sent fans into a frenzy, hypothesizing what the cost could be. One obvious candidate would be the Winterfell bastard and professional nothing knower, Jon Snow. A popular prediction is that Jon will sacrifice himself in order to kill the Night King and stop the attack on the living. But true to character, our hero won't die. Completely. Instead, he'll become a semi-White Walker like Benjen Stark and rule the Walkers as the new Night King. So long as he isn't fully converted to Walker, he would then be able to use his leadership to turn the advance of the Walkers around, protecting the citizens of Westeros. How's that for bittersweet? So that was 10 Game of Thrones theories that will blow your mind. How do you think the show will end? If you enjoyed this video, why not head over to our video on 10 things you didn't know about Game of Thrones? And as always, make sure you give us a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.